But back in 1923, Hitler and Ludendorff had tried for treason before judges who were not exactly unfriendly to their interests. Hitler uses the courtroom for a propaganda outburst which is widely reported in the newspapers. General Ludendorff is acquitted. Hitler himself is sentenced to 5 years' detention in the Landsberg fortress. Here he lives in comfort and begins to dictate Mein Kampf, using Hess as his secretary. Other hands, including Father Stempfler, later to be murdered during the Night of the Long Knives, turn the manuscript into readable form. After less than a year, Hitler is released, but the Nazi Party itself is in ruins. Meanwhile, the young Weimar Republic has found its feet and has gained goodwill abroad. When President Ebert dies, he is succeeded by the aging Field Marshal von Hindenburg, a man who, because of his traditional army background, could never be a Republican, let alone a Democrat. But to the Allied victors, he appears to be a symbol of stability. And so foreign investment, mainly from America and Britain, begins to flow into Germany. A steady rise in the standard of living lulls the people into a state of false security. And so long as the Republic seems to prosper, the Nazis make little headway. But Hitler continues to harangue any audience who will listen to him. New York, October the 24th, 1929. The bottom drops out of the stock market. The economic collapse which shakes all America is soon to shake the world. With an abrupt cutting off of more loans from abroad, the very cornerstone of German economy crumbles. Thousands of small businesses and shopkeepers shut down. Soon 6 million Germans are out of work. How is it possible, people ask everywhere, for so much poverty to suddenly replace so much prosperity? But Hitler rejoices in this misery of the people. He sees the chance to find new support. He says,
"Never in my life have I been so well disposed and inwardly contented as in these days."
Propaganda has its greatest effect on a people depressed by hunger and lack of work. Poverty inspires revolution. The communists also begin to gain wide support. Scared by this growth of the left, many German industrialists, bankers, and landowners, never friendly to the Republic, now turn to Hitler and his private army of the SA. They believe that he can be bought as a tool to crush the red danger of the organized workers. So from industry and big finance, the Nazis now get money to step up their propaganda campaign. At meeting after meeting, Hitler promises everything to everybody. Promises to make Germany strong again. He promises to find work for all. He promises every German woman a husband. He promises to tear up the hated Treaty of Versailles. He promises to stamp out corruption in high places. He even promises to curb the power of big industry and finance, those very powers who are paying for this propaganda campaign, a promise he is not to keep. And all the time he promises to smash the Jews. They are to blame for everything he screams. This is the one promise he is to keep to the bitter end.
Ausgeräumt ist, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
Fighting in the streets is frequent. Among the toughs of the SA is a dissolute young student, Horst Wessel. He has written the words to a song used by his local SA group. He is found killed in the street. Goebbels promptly turns the funeral into a romantic martyr's burial. Another gigantic propaganda lie. The Horst Wessel song is even made the official Nazi hymn and later becomes the second national anthem to Deutschland über alles. In the next few years, Germany is divided by a whole series of elections.
Wenn doch bei dieser kommenden Wahl die Nationalsozialisten verlieren möchten, damit die Bürger in Parteien wird etwas zunehmen. Regierungen kommen und gehen, das Volk ist das Bleibende.
All the same, the Nazi Party multiplies its votes more than 7 times. It is now the second biggest party in the Reichstag. The communists also still steadily gain in numbers. The Social Democrats and the moderate centre parties are always the losers. Meanwhile, the army has stood aloof, but watched events with growing alarm. The generals have never supported the Republic. They still dream of a return to the old monarchy. To keep them quiet, Hitler tells them,
I have always held the view that any attempt to undermine the army is madness. We will see to it when we come into power that out of our present Reichswehr, a great army of the German people shall arise.
For the time being, the generals are satisfied. But from this day on, they will never be rid of the Austrian corporal. They will share in his guilt. When the next election for president comes up, Hitler feels strong enough to challenge the 84-year-old Hindenburg, father figure of the German people.
Solange es in Deutschland ein politisches Lehre gibt, ist nun nie aus allen Berufen und allen Ständen, allen Lebensstellungen, allen Herkünften eine solche Bewegung aus nichts geschaffen worden.
It is just because the Nazi Party has sprung from nowhere that the many leaders of industry and finance believe that Hitler can be bought as a weapon to serve their ends. January 1932, he addresses a meeting of industrialists in Dusseldorf. Result, more money is subscribed for the party, to be spent on a propaganda campaign the like of which Germany and the world has never seen. Hitler over Germany. The Führer flies from city to city, 20 places in 1 week. The Nazi press screams out that here at last is a man fit to lead the German people. But even with this terrific propaganda onslaught, Hitler loses the election. But the propaganda has had results. The Nazi party still grows in size. Next move, Chancellor Brüning is forced out of office. A man of the Catholic Centre, he has been compelled to rule by emergency laws. The way is now open for far more dangerous men. Wily Franz von Papen and the ambitious General von Schleicher to intrigue together or against each other for the high post of Reich Chancellor, for the goodwill of President Hindenburg, but always against the Republic. By now it is obvious that the Weimar Republic is doomed. It has failed because most Germans believe that it has been foisted on them by the Allied victors of the war. It has never had any real constructive policy of its own. Too many of those who held power in the Kaiser's day have kept their power. It has, alas, been a republic without any real republicans, a democracy without any Democrats. But how has Hitler come so close to power without having won a single free election? Let us repeat. First, the industrialists, the financiers and bankers, the landowners, and the army have seen in Hitler their only bastion against the organized workers. Second, the middle classes have remembered the days of inflation. They fear to lose what they have since gained. Third, many of the unemployed have in despair taken to wearing one of Hitler's brown shirts. January the 30th, 1933. Hindenburg gives in to the pressures which surround him from all sides. Adolf Hitler is at last offered the highest post in the land next to that of the president, Reich Chancellor. So triumphs the vagrant from Austria, the hater of Jews and socialists, the sworn enemy of democracy, the believer in brutality. A man who bases his whole political program on lies and propaganda, who sees only himself as the Führer of a future master race. We can control him, say those who put power into his hands. We want to see our leader, cries the crowd. Thus, the Third Reich is born.